How could you do this?
You reap what you sow.
Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I'm taking everything away from you.
But I loved you.
My wife left me for a millionaire. 6 years later, she showed up at my office wearing clothes from a discount store, tears running down her face, and begged me for a job.
Please, you can't do this to me.
The contract is very clear, Sarah.
But I have nowhere else to go.
What she didn't know was that the company she desperately needed to save her life was now owned by me. And what she confessed that day revealed a betrayal far worse than the affair that destroyed our marriage. But before I tell you what happened when she walked into my office that day, you need to understand how everything started. My wife walked out of our apartment carrying 2 suitcases and a smile. Before she left, she turned around and said something that destroyed me. I finally found a man who can give me the life I deserve. Then she walked away. At the time, I thought losing my wife was the worst thing that could happen to me. I had no idea she had already started destroying my life months before she left. And I definitely had no idea that 5 years later, she would be standing in front of me begging for help while I held the power to decide her future. My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how the woman I loved traded me for a millionaire, helped ruin my career, and then watched everything she wanted disappear. For 7 years, I thought my marriage was solid. We weren't wealthy. We lived in a modest apartment, drove a used car, and planned our future carefully. But I was happy. When I met my wife in college, she was the kind of woman who laughed at expensive restaurants. She loved simple dates. She loved staying in. She always told me that loyalty mattered more than money. At least that's what she said. Looking back now, I wonder if she ever truly believed it. Everything started changing when social media became her obsession. Every day she scrolled through pictures of luxury vacations, designer clothes, and giant mansions. At first it seemed harmless. Then it became all she talked about. Every conversation turned into a comparison. Look at them. Look at what they have. Why don't we live like that? No matter what I accomplished, it was never enough. If I got a raise, she wanted a bigger raise. If I bought her something nice, she compared it to something more expensive. I started working longer hours. I took on extra responsibilities. I sacrificed weekends. Nothing changed. The more I gave, the more disappointed she became. Then Victor entered our lives. The first time she mentioned him, she acted casual. He's just a friend. That should have been my warning. Within weeks, she talked about him constantly. Victor owned several companies. Victor had luxury cars. Victor flew to Europe whenever he felt like it. Victor lived in a penthouse overlooking the city. Victor. 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 I grew tired of hearing his name. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. I found her smiling at her phone. The second she saw me, her face changed. She locked the screen immediately. My stomach dropped. I didn't say anything. But deep down, I knew. A week later, I found the messages. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. The affair wasn't just emotional. It had become something much worse. They weren't discussing a relationship. They were discussing a future. A future without me. I felt physically sick reading those conversations. When I confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she looked relieved. I'm tired of living like this. Living like what? Average. That single word hit harder than any insult. Average. 7 years together reduced to one word. Victor can give me everything you've never been able to. I stared at her. Does any of this mean anything to you? She shrugged. Love doesn't pay bills. A month later, she filed for divorce. But that wasn't the worst part. 2 weeks after she moved out, I received terrible news at work. A major project I had managed was under investigation. Confidential information had somehow been leaked. Millions of dollars were involved. My boss called me into his office. The accusations came fast. Too fast. Someone had access to files that only a handful of employees could reach. Including me. I couldn't understand it. I had done nothing wrong. Yet the evidence pointed directly at me. Within days, I was suspended. Within weeks, I was fired. My entire career collapsed. I sat alone in my apartment staring at the termination letter. First my wife. Now my job. Everything I had built was disappearing. For months, I struggled. Friends stopped calling. Bills piled up. Job interviews went nowhere. Nobody wanted to hire someone connected to a corporate investigation. I hit rock bottom. Then another twist arrived. One evening, an old coworker called me. His voice sounded nervous. "Ethan, I think you need to see something." We met the next day. What he showed me made my blood run cold. Security logs revealed someone had accessed my work laptop remotely months earlier. The access came from my home internet connection. My home. The same home my wife had lived in. The same period she had started seeing Victor. Suddenly everything made sense. Victor's company had been competing for the project my firm lost. Someone had benefited enormously from that leak. And my wife had access to my passwords. I realized she hadn't just betrayed our marriage. She may have helped destroy my career. I wanted revenge. I wanted justice. But I had no proof strong enough to take to court, so I made a decision. Instead of chasing revenge, I would rebuild. The next few years were brutal. I started from nothing. I accepted consulting work nobody wanted. I worked 14-hour days. I learned new skills. I attended networking events. I built relationships. Most people quit when success takes too long. I kept going. 1 client became 3. 3 became 10. 10 became 50. Slowly my business grew. Then it exploded. Within 5 years, I owned one of the fastest growing construction consulting firms in the region. I had offices in multiple cities. A beautiful home, financial freedom. And something far more valuable. Peace. The past no longer controlled me. Or at least that's what I thought. One afternoon, my assistant entered my office. "You have a visitor." "I don't have any appointments." "She says it's important." Moments later, the door opened. And there she was. My ex-wife. For a second, I barely recognized her. The confident woman who left me was gone. The woman standing before me looked exhausted. Older. Broken. She sat down slowly. Tears formed in her eyes. "Ethan." I waited. What she told me next shocked even me. Victor's empire had collapsed. Federal investigators uncovered massive fraud. Assets were frozen. Properties were seized. Bank accounts disappeared. Investors abandoned him overnight. Everything he owned was gone. The luxury lifestyle she had chosen vanished with it. I listened quietly. Then she revealed something even worse. Victor had blamed her for helping conceal certain transactions. She spent years trapped in legal battles she barely understood. The dream she chased had become a nightmare. I made a mistake. I remained silent. "No," she whispered. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." For the first time in years, I looked at her without anger. I simply felt nothing. Then came another twist. She admitted the truth. The truth I had suspected for years. Victor had convinced her to access information from my laptop. She thought she was helping him secure a business deal, She never expected me to lose my career. At least that's what she claimed. The room became very quiet. 5 years. 5 years wondering what happened. 5 years questioning myself, and now the answer sat across from me. I never meant to hurt you. I almost laughed. She destroyed my marriage. She helped destroy my career. And now she wanted forgiveness. Then she looked at me hopefully. Can we start over? There it was. The real reason she came. Not guilt. Not closure. Hope. She thought the successful version of me could save her. I stood and walked toward the window. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then I turned around. You remember what you said when you left? She lowered her head. I finally found a man who can give me the life I deserve. Tears rolled down her face. I was wrong. Yes, I said softly. You were. Then came the final twist. Earlier that year, my company had acquired a struggling firm. The same firm where she had recently applied for a management position. The hiring decision sat on my desk. One signature. That's all it would take. For a brief moment, I understood real revenge. I could reject her application. I could return a fraction of the pain she caused me. But then I realized something. The greatest revenge had already happened. I won. Not because she lost. Because I rebuilt. Because I survived. Because I became stronger than the man she abandoned. I signed the file. Her eyes widened. You got me the job. Yes. Why? Because I'm not the person who left someone behind when they needed help. She broke down crying. Not because she got the job. Because she finally understood the difference between us. As she left, I returned to my work. Some victories don't require revenge. Sometimes the most satisfying ending is becoming so successful that the people who betrayed you no longer have the power to affect your happiness. She was right all those years ago. She did find the man who could give her the life she deserved. The problem was that man was me. And she only figured it out after she lost him forever. This is Story Vault Stories, where every story has a lesson. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss our next incredible tale.